Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Worship Guitar Show number 13. All right. Well, first of all, just want to thank everybody for arriving in one piece, and I hope you're having a great night. And I'm joined by my ever famous pentatonic patterns here, which is always kind of fun. Um, hey, what's going on, Shane? What's going on, Brenton? So do me a favor, everybody. Why don't you let me know, besides the people that I obviously know, where you're coming from, and also kind of maybe some of the things that you're curious about in solo world. What's neat about tonight is that we're going to get a chance to do something maybe a little less traditional with the worship world. As much as I might like to start every worship service like that, I can't necessarily say that that is how I traditionally get the guitar end of things rolling. But very curious to see what some of the comments on the rebroadcast of this are going to be like. So, in any case, um, awesome. Hey, what's going on, Brett? How are you? Good to see you. All right. Well, as you can see, I've been joined by my friend the Pentatonic, and I'm going to go full screen here for a second. Inevitably, that means I will get some echo, but that is always something I can mute real quick. So let's fix this. There we go. And rebroadcast of this is going to be like. So in any case, yep. Okay, so with that said, now I can see everybody's comments and I can see them as they come in. All right, excellent. Northeast Ohio. Okay, so here's the deal. This past Saturday, I spent a bunch of time with my students. Brenton, as you will know firsthand, kind of talking through some of the things that in the quote unquote traditional mainstream guitar world, somebody really should know. And although we're going to kind of refine that a little bit, we're going to still kind of zero in on some of those key points. And the interesting thing about playing at church and worship music is there's not an awful lot of soloing in the mix there. But that doesn't mean that worship musicians don't want to solo. And it also means like what do you do when the Lincoln Brewster song comes up and you're like, well, I don't quite know where to start. So the other part of this is that not everybody who plays at church just plays at church, and because traditionally once you kind of get into that Sunday to Sunday cycle, it's easy to be absorbed into that musical sphere, and so you're kind of thinking about, oh, I'm preparing for this weekend. I'm learning the songs. I'm going to be prepared for rehearsal, and it means that kind of this time with the instrument, kind of we get separated from the guitar a little bit, and at least in terms of that kind of guitar playing. And regardless of whether you want to shred or not, I think the idea of having some technical skill is an important thing. So let me take away a few of the little bells and whistles here for just a second here. Let's see how. All right, that's better. All right, now let's take a listen to this. Okay. Okay, now, yeah, that's exactly how I play at church on Sunday. I'm just like, yep, that's the vibe. All right, so with all that good stuff said, depends on the church, right. The Church of, no, I'm not even going to say the Church of Shred. I guess I did, but the point being, all right. So getting serious here, first of all, the one of the things I talked about with my students was this basically this arc of knowledge, And the first kind of entry point is when your average guitar player has learned kind of to play the same type of thing in two different songs. And for example, they kind of go, wait a second, whether it's a bar chord or the pentatonic, where'd my plugin go? Okay, so the point being that we want to have some sense of the fact that one of the things that's going to happen is that the first arc is this kind of concept of like there are shapes that we're going to play. Hence this pentatonic business. Let's see, it's over that way. The other part of this, boy, I'm seeing a little blinkiness here. So let me do something here real quick because I think that's a resource thing. So give me but a moment. And I'm going to close some resources, and that should solve some of this problem. So give me just a moment. Of course, it didn't do that in the tests, so my apologies. That's okay. The blinky thing is a little bit of a bummer. Hang on. There we go. It seems to be doing it less. Good, good, good. Better. No, it's still doing it. Hang on a second. All right. So in any case, thank you for being so wonderfully patient. And all right, Photoshop, goodbye. Now, the interesting thing is, okay, that should be better. Okay. Good. All right. Restoration of resources. You may have a blink for a minute longer as the stream plays out here, but I think we're good over on this end. Looks good. My apologies. So this first point of realization happens around, again, this shape thing. A really good example is bar chords, right? Or your average kind of blues riff, or anything that you kind of, again, learn in one song, you learned in another, and all of a sudden you go, wait a second. That's that same thing I can move around to play music. And what's great about that is it's that first moment where you go, I know something that's bigger than the piece of music that I'm playing in. And that is a huge realization. The next piece of that for me is really around the scale degree numbers. That is to say, if we think about the major scale and the chords therein, think about it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. That's my noise gate. Okay. So the idea is that the major scale's got 7 tones. So if you play a chord that's based on the second tone of the major scale, that's the 2 chord. If you play a chord that's based on the 5, it's the 5 chord. All right, you're just not going to be nice to me tonight, are you? That's okay. All right. Be that way. All right, so I'm going to lose a few more resources here, and I don't have that much open, but it's being a little unpleasant to me. Okay. Let me do this. Better-ish. Okay. So this numbers thing also applies as we start kind of getting our speed happening, as you start thinking about the 7 notes of the major scale being, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. And as most of you who are kind of my semi-regulars know, kind of with the 3-note per string speed exercise A, that we're basically starting off at the first tone of the major scale, then the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and back to the first. And in so doing, we're grouping each group of 3 notes into 2 sets of 8th note triplets. And then on the way back down, but in the midst of that, there's this whole kind of numbers thing happening where we are conscious of the fact that we're playing off of each of the 7 tones of the major scale. The next point of kind of realization and kind of revelation is this kind of the fact that, like, wow, not only is that the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, but that's G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. And that if you kind of begin to think of the note names and the scale degree numbers kind of on opposite sides of the kind of the same flashcard, if you will, and you can think of G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of G, or F, G, A, B flat as the 1, 2, 3, 4, and be able to get comfortable enough with the note names where you can translate them into numbers kind of simultaneously. That's a huge help. So that is to say, when you have an awareness of the note names and kind of become unlatched from the, hey, I played the pentatonic, I just line it up on the root on the low E string, to the point where you're going, hey, wait a second, that's G, B flat, C, D, F, G, B flat, C, D, F, G, B flat. That totally changes a person's awareness about how they're going to approach using the pentatonic, because now they're kind of like, oh, okay. So the concept that we've seen these shape-based pentatonic patterns, and that now they are going to become note names if we want them to be, makes it so we're not just kind of abstractly going, what's the root of our chord progression? All right, I'll just kind of abstractly line up the first finger of the pentatonic on the low E string to that note, and I'm good. Kind of the third level, if you will, of that knowledge. But honestly, for the sake of tonight, we don't actually have to hang out there. We can hang out there. And so the point being is that memorizing these shapes of these pentatonics is really important. Now, this is one of the things that I think anybody that's hung out with me for an extended period of time has heard me go on about, perhaps ad nauseum. But one of the things is quite often when I have somebody come in for lessons, one of the first things I'll ask them is, do you know the 5 patterns for the pentatonic? And invariably the answer is like, oh yeah. And I said, oh, that's great. Well, why don't you go ahead and play them up and down the neck? And then usually by about the second or third pattern, like it's this thing. And the idea, as opposed to being able to take pentatonic fine, you know what? You know what? You be that way. Hang on. That'll work. I realize it's pan to the left, but I'm seeing input there. So I'm just going to play it without any of that. Hang on. All right, we're going lo-fi here. So the deal is the G minor pentatonic scale. The idea of being able to interconnect those patterns. It's not a matter of being able to do it for the sake of being able to do it. The idea, and talking while playing, is a couple of things. First of all, the reason you play it with a metronome is that when you're playing with a metronome, it's the equivalent of playing, if you will, with a virtual drummer. And with scales and whatnot, if you're going to play some sort of soloing sequence, if you work it up to speed and then play it 10 to 15% faster than you're going to actually have to play it in a piece of music, when you actually slow it down, it actually becomes easy and attainable. And that's kind of one of the things you learn with the metronome, practicing with that. The other thing is you begin to kind of go, what is my accuracy like? What is my consistency like? Do I really know the patterns? How are my transitions? Now, out there, somebody is probably thinking, hey, it would be really great if I could get my hands on those lesson plans. So let me just double check a short URL real quick. Magnon info lesson plans. And good. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up an overlay here, and I'm going to put up a link for these so you can download these. So, and we're going to bring you up in font size so you're actually legible. Okay, and we're going to let's try this. And let's try that in a color that's actually legible now. Here. Good. Any better? No. Oh, but I can put you there. Hang on. Okay. You can grab these guys. There we go. That'll get you there. So gtrmag.info/Doppler lesson plans will get you to the PDF where those guys are. And you're welcome to grab those now. All right. So here's the dealio. With the pentatonics, there we go. The pentatonics, what we want to be able to do is play them with a nice, smooth, even tempo. So I'm going to lose this little guy right here for a minute. There we go. Up and down the neck. The idea is having a framework to just really get the microcosm of what soloing is really about. The idea is when you want to put together a smooth solo, it's like the idea is to sound remotely smooth. So kind of like, it's not like there's like the smooth fruit that grows on a tree and you go and eat the smooth fruit. It has to come from somewhere. And the idea is like learning to just get comfortable running your pentatonic patterns. It's where that happens. Now, it's not in the PDF, but a really, really important exercise that I give pretty much all my students is the G minor pentatonic transition exercise A. That's basically taking the bottom two strings of pattern number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 1 here at the 15th fret, repeating it and coming back down, and you're just taking the bottom two strings. And you can think of it in a couple of ways. One, it's an abbreviated version of the whole scale, or really the goal is something I call targeting and isolating. That is to say, instead of running up and down through the entire scale and then kind of blowing the transition, let's just work on the part where we traditionally have a problem with the transition, which is not only on the low string, but also on the 5th string as well. So the idea, traditionally we'll repeat the top note of the pentatonic, so it's kind of a mirror image. So as we kind of scale that down, so to speak, we do the same thing with that top note there. We repeat the top pattern before we come back down the neck. Now somebody somewhere is thinking, what about the fingers? So the idea is you want to stay true to the pentatonic fingering. So, you know, for example, we're coming from pattern number 1 to pattern number 5 there. the idea is you want to stay true to the fingering pattern number 5. So if you take a look at the diagram there, and I apologize if you're on a mobile device because it will be about that big. But the idea is that, hold on, wait, here we go. Better. Okay, so pattern number 5 there, if you take a look at the bottom 2 strings there, it's 2, 4, 2, 4. And I'm going to zoom back out so you can see pattern number, actually, yeah, no, that'll be fine. So the idea is that it's the 2nd and 4th. So what we don't want to do is kind of be cruising back down from pattern number 1 and use the 1st and 3rd because we finished with the 1st finger there. And hey, let's just move that 1st finger down, which gets us to arguably a question that somebody's thinking. And in a moment, I'll actually go and see if there are any questions that anybody's asking. But the idea is, well, kind of how do you approach choosing which fingers? And in this instance, the fingers are all true to these patterns of the pentatonic. And that in turn includes the other strings, because the next thing is after you kind of do the 6th and 5th string, you go, that's kind of cool. It would be rather cool to know all the pairs of strings. So what we're doing is, again, staying true to the fingering of the pentatonic. And we're kind of, if you will, if you think about pattern number 1, number 2, number 3 as little lending libraries of fingerings and notes. As you take a look at pattern number 1 there, I'm just playing the 1, 3, 1, 3 on the 4th and 3rd strings. Pattern number 2, the 1, 4, 1, 3. Pattern number 3, this 1, 3, stretch 1, 3, 3, stretch 1, 3, 1. Number 4, number 5, and back to pattern number 1 there. And so in that sense, you have the ideas like, in this particular case, the fingering for the patterns kind of lay down how you want to do that. Now, the next question somebody's asking is going to be like, that's an awful lot of finger notes with that pinky. Are you sure you want me to do that? Yeah. And the reason being is that when we start getting into stuff like this, if you're not used to working out that pinky, you're going to have a very unhappy pinky, and chances are you're going to have a very unhappy pinky owner, right? So, yeah. So, okay, let me first of all check in and see if anybody has any questions, because it's always good to answer questions. Okay. All right. First of all, hello. Yeah, Joel. Okay, yeah. Okay. Hang on. Let me just go back from the top of the thread here. First of all, Joel, hey, Dubai. Awesome. Oh, wow. Awesome. With pleasure. Thank you so much. Sorry. Famous for reading the thing and replying to it as if you know what's in my head. Quote unquote, Joel Kaguikla. I hope that's close. Doug, I am from Dubai. I bought some of your books about worship. It's really helpful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Much appreciated. Stephen Morley, welcome aboard. There we go. There you go. Brett, hey, Jesus rose from the dead so you can celebrate with Shred. Do it up. I love it. Thanks so much, Brett. Okay. Excellent, Joel. Glad it's really helpful. Eric Martin, what's going on, my man? The Bureau is in. Jamie, how you doing, man? David, hello. David Jordan, that is. Jim Giannini, good to see you. How you feeling, man? Jim, what's happening, my man? The Thunder from Down Under, and I'm not talking about Frank Gambale. Roger, good to see you. Mr. Zamish is in the house. So, Joel, the deal is I had this crazy Pro Tools plug-in with all this wild stereo delay, and my computer decided it was going to get very strange on me. So I decided, you know what? I could strip it down and just kind of go for it. Because the show must go on. Okay. Shane, when you get a chance, could you review speed exercise A, B, C, and D? Joel, thanks. Melissa Doppler, hello. I know you. That name sounds very familiar. Okay, yes. So since the question came in and I think we've adequately covered the pentatonic, let me make sure that there's nobody in YouTube going, hey, what about me? Hey, what's going on? Leland, good to see you. Hang on one second. Leland, I promise I will poke my head into YouTube just like I am. Glendora, California, 51 years, worship guitar. Keeping the faith. Love it. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And hello to everybody else that's on YouTube there. Having a good old time. And feel free to bring your questions on. Looking forward to it. Awesome, 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 awesome. Okay, so let's see here. All right, Shane, you asked me about 3-note per string speed exercises A, B, C, and D. All right, so the interesting thing about all of these guys is that they really started at this period of time, and I'm going to review very briefly kind of the pentatonic. You know, most guitar players, one day they wake up and they've... There were some other notes blended in there, but they kind of go, hey, I can move the pentatonic around, and they drag it around. Good news and bad news is that's the first day that you take some musical concept and unchain it from the songs that you learned it and went, this is my own. Bad news. That's the first day that you start digging the rut of playing the same riffs over and over. One of the advantages of, playing the pentatonic in a linear sense is it gives you... Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Which feed is opening up now? Guitar show. No. There'll be none of that. Right. Well, first of all... No, that's going to be Facebook. Just want to thank everybody for arriving in one piece. That sounds like YouTube being very naughty. Hang on a second. Night. There will be none of that allowed. Yep. I'm joined by my... Shush. My apologies. As I was saying, then the next point you start thinking about things in terms of the numbers. As in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. And then we start doing the ideas of starting grouping those notes together in like the 1, 2, and 3 of the major scale. 2, 3, and 4. 3, 4, and 5. 4, 5, and 6. Wait for it. 5, 6, and 7. 6, 7, and 1. 7, 1, and 2. And 1, 2, and 3. And then you flip it around. And the idea is that really lends itself to being able to go, okay, for most players, they hang out traditionally in pattern number 1 of the minor pentatonic. They might move down to... the bottom 2 strings of pattern number 5, slide into pattern number 1, and then slide into the top 2 strings for pattern number 2. If you look really closely, it's actually the same 4 notes. And if you do a slide, it's actually the 5 notes. Of the minor pentatonic, played with basically, in this particular case, I'm going 1, 3, 1, 3, slide. But again, what happens is people end up being kind of boxed into those patterns. Playing the pentatonic patterns linearly is one of the ways to get people out of that box. The other thing is introducing the modes, not just laterally, but linearly is a huge help. So to answer Shane's question, 3-note per string speed exercise A is is kind of the first exercise that I really use to help people, first of all, develop speed. Not that one of the goals is speed, but it's not like it's the be all and all. But the idea is that the coordination of the left hand and the right hand is a really important part of having control, regardless of how slow or fast you go. So that's where 3-note per string speed exercise A has the advantage of moving up and down the neck without crossing strings. And that's one of the things that messes people up. And there basically I'm taking pattern number 1 of the minor pentatonic and just alternating strings, playing the lower note, upper note, lower, upper, lower, upper, upper, lower, upper, lower, upper, lower. And what's neat about that is it forces you to play one note on each string, and they're kind of at these opposite ends of these little kind of, if you will, boxes. This guy is a completely different beast, though. And so there are 4 variations to exercise A, Shane. Basically, if we think about going G, A, B, that's low to high. B, A, G is high to low. So variation number 1 goes up the neck, low to high. And down, low to high. In theory, without a gap, you go into variation number 2, which goes up high to low and down high to low. So I'll work the transition. All right, now that gets us to variation number 3, where we start to mix and match. Low to high on the way up and high to low on the way down. And I'll kind of, again, thread the end of number 2 into pattern number 3. Variation number 4, high to low. On the way up, low to high. On the way down, again, low to high, up and down, high to low, up and down, low to high on the way up, high to low on the way down, high to low on the way up, low to high on the way down. Okay, now variation, 3-note per string speed exercise B takes the same concept, but we're still in the key of G. So we're taking the second string the concept on and adding the D, E, and F sharp to the G, A, and B, so on and so forth. Has the same 4 variations: low to high for variation number 1, high to low for variation number 2. Variation number 3 goes up low to high, down high to low for variation number 3, and variation number 4 flips that around, high to low on the way up, low to high on the way down. Now what's neat about this guy is it really gives us a chance to start thinking about more than just these 3 notes, because then we can start doing like I did there. I went up 1 and down the other, so you're kind of, now that's not in the quote-unquote exercise, but it is supposed to go and then you start fiddling around, and that was jumping in thirds. And the idea is you start kind of having a little bit of playtime with that. Now, it's an interesting thing about this practice thing is that I love to practice. And the interesting thing is that, you know, there are people that like to play. There are people that like to play and practice. And there are people that love to play and love to practice. I get a lot of satisfaction of just sitting there getting the instrument clear. And this is where the note names become really helpful. If you can see rather than this is just being the 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, that is D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. Then you start to hear things. Oops. Nothing like doing legato with no amp. Okay, let me check. Brian O'Melian, how you doing, man? So it's so funny when you were on the show, you're like, I want to see Doug shred. With no tone, I love it. So the interesting thing about 3-note per string speed exercise A, that's really the heartbeat of where I really started developing speed. And from there, you're just moving that on to other strings. Why it's so good to do it on a high E string. And a couple of technique tips. First of all, I'm doing something here where I've got this this classical hand position. And the idea is it's, hey! And you've got lots of extension, a little bit of curl and arch to each of the fingertips there. And you're facing up the neck. And so in so doing, we're not twisting the hand here. One of the things people have a tendency to do on those whole step stretches is that they do these strange little jumps to make that whole step stretch, and it messes with their whole hand position as opposed to extending that first finger out. And what's neat about that is it really makes the hand nice and loose, and that is the whole goal. Now, here I've got the thumb traveling roughly at the opposite side of where the first and second fingers are on the back of the neck. When I play traditional pentatonic, thumbs around the top of the neck, so I've got lots of anchor. But when I'm playing these things, I need that thumb down so the hand stays loose. And here, that grabbiness means it's an interesting thing because it's loose on one hand, because if you get too tight, you start to cramp up. So here there's a tension in grabbing the neck, so you can but at the same time there's a little bit of looseness with the fingertips. The legato thing is really loose. And the interesting thing is using that last those last little knuckly joints of your fingertips. That's where that articulation comes from. Getting back to this 3-note per string speed exercise A thing. Tip of the first finger's touched up against the side of the second string, and the lower strings are muted with the the right hand, the fleshy part of the right hand down here, and the thumb is also down on the bass strings. And then the second and third fingers glide on the body like that. So you've got this 1, 2, 3, 4 bases of support. Now the thing about this is that if Do I have any keys? No, I don't. It's, do I have anything that's remotely like that? No, I don't. Okay, maybe I do. Okay, so if, there we go. My little dongle here is actually close enough. So the idea, it's the most natural motion for your hand to have, right? I mean, if you think about it, you don't go like, "Arr." It's just this nice smooth motion, and there's a kind of a moment where you kind of get this inertia, and it just gently starts moving back and forth, and it's this very loose kind of feeling. And there are things you can do. You can dig in more with the pick. You can also bring the pick further into the string, and some variation of the two. The other thing is, kind of the right hand. The idea is that when you're playing with some sort of amp or model, how hard you hit the string, how much you dig the pick in, is going to have a huge effect on the tone. So not just playing at one volume is a big deal. Okay, so let's poke in here for a second. 3-note per string pentatonic is fun. There we go. Yes, it is. Okay, let's see here. Got plenty on. There we go. Thanks, Joel. I will say, one could choose if they chose to focus on the fact that it is bone dry. You could kind of freak out about it, but I'm just choosing not to. And here's the thing: is that I love playing the guitar, and I love showing the guitar to people, and it's kind of one of my favorite things. Is this kind of helping them get further on their journey. It's fun and it's a privilege, and music is awesome that way. Do me a favor, Leland, if you got any questions, fire away. Okay, so getting back to B, I got there. There we go. Across all strings, Doug. Thanks so much. 3-note per string speed exercise B was the top two strings. C and D. I'm not going to give you C and D because I don't remember what they were, but I will do this. I'm going to go here. Yes. All right. We're going to skip these modes for just a moment, and we're going to head over to these 3-note per string fingerings. And I'm going to make sure that I didn't do anything wacky. Good. Okay. And I'm going to minimize myself just a little bit. And I'm going to move this over here so you can see that. Okay. So as we're taking a look at the 3-note per string modes, these guys as the name implies, have 3 notes on each string. Now, this is one of the interesting things that I was talking about before about shapes, is that, because we, came from this pentatonic box shape thing, we don't want to abandon that. Again, kind of, if you will, the 3 stages are you kind of learn shapes, you move them around. Get away, bug, you're bugging me. And then you start looking at the scale degree numbers, and then ultimately scale degree numbers become note names. And once you're able to look at things in terms of the note names, you're able to take things with modes. I'm going to jump ahead and I'm going to come back. There you go, Shane. Over-derived coefficients of multitude of sins. I love it. This is my kind of room. So the thing is that I'm going to jump ahead and then I'm going to come back. And I promise I will. So if we think about the major scale, which, by the way, goes 2 holes and a half, 3 holes and a half. And as we map it for the key of E major, it's E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, D sharp, C sharp, B, A, G sharp, F sharp, E. And Dorian, compared to the major scale, has a flat 3. And so instead of going E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, E, D sharp, C sharp, B, A, G sharp, F sharp, D, it goes E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, because it also has a flat 7. So here's the interesting thing is a little bit earlier back I was talking about the ability to take the note names and see that hiding inside the note names, once you have a good enough understanding of them, you're actually expressing the scale degree number simultaneously. That is to say, if I said E, F sharp, and G, I am describing the first 3 notes of the G major scale. Now, that sequence of kind of, if you will, 2 adjacent whole steps occurs elsewhere in the major scale, but in this particular instance, I'm thinking about the key of E major, and I'm thinking about the first 3 notes. So if I think about E, F sharp, and G, I'm thinking about the first 3 notes of major. Sorry, E, F sharp, G sharp, and if I think about E, F sharp, and G, that's the first 3 notes of Dorian. E, F, and G, Phrygian. E, F, and G sharp, Lydian. E, F sharp, and G, sorry, my bad. E, F sharp, and G sharp, Lydian. E, F sharp, and G sharp, mixed Lydian. E, F sharp, and G minor. E, F, and G Locrian. So that is to say, once you get comfortable going, all right, I can see, hopefully you can see that those are the first 3 notes of major, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, mixed Lydian, minor, Locrian, and so on and so forth. Now all of a sudden you can go, right, E, F sharp, G sharp. That makes sense of going, right, that's the first 3 notes of major, Lydian, and mixed Lydian. E, F sharp, and G are the first 3 notes of E Dorian and E minor. And E, F, and G are the first 3 notes of E Phrygian and E Locrian. So then once you start adding the other notes into the mix, then it begins to define itself, because the major scale is not, if you will, equidistant between the way it's splayed out. 2 holes and a half, 3 holes and a half. So sooner than later, you're going to run into a spot where you either have basically what I call a double, that is to say, those 2 whole steps next door to each other, and then what I call a double-double. And we're not talking about in and out here, where we've got, and then, so that's to say 2 whole steps adjacent to each other, and then the next spot. So that really helps us kind of get a sense for that. Now, here's the other thing that's happening in the background here, because somebody's thinking it, is that in addition to kind of these 3 kind of arcs that are happening with the shapes, the scale degree numbers, and the note names, there's the arc that's going alongside with that with your ear. Because sooner than later, okay, I'm going to go E major here. Now I played a B flat instead of a B. Oh. And I played a D instead of a D sharp. Sound a little weird? And because I can hear where I'm in the scale. That's a 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And what starts to happen is after a while, you just hear the sound of it. It's just like you memorize a melody. Now, I realize, what's going on, Ramiro? How you doing, man? David Flosscraft. Hey, what's going on, bud? Jeremy, hello. The thing about this is that basically the sequence of the major scale, the vast majority of the music we play, we're just somewhere in that sequence playing one of those notes as our tonal center. So that is to say, the Dorian mode is simply taking some major scale and hanging out at its second note and camping out there and calling that poem. That is to say, if I took G major, so there I was playing the notes of G major, adding some chords to it, and hanging around the G. But if I go, I played a G sharp instead of a G. I hit a little C sharp with there. I guess I did it on purpose, but I didn't. But what's neat again about having that consciousness about the note names is not like, oh, I hit that note at the 4th fret there. I'm like, actually, I hit the C sharp instead of the C natural. It becomes something that becomes, it's got more of what I like to refer to as a terrible example, but this will do. Little handle. It means you can grab it. You can kind of look at it and go, right, I was meaning to play A Dorian, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. And when I got to the C, I played a C sharp because I just kind of slid a little too far up the neck. So in any case, the concept of the modes is you're just taking one of the 7 notes of the major scale and you're calling it home. Okay, now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to head back to the 3 upper string modes. And similar to what we did with the minor pentatonic, where we targeted and isolated the bottom 2 strings, we're going to do the same with the bottom 2 strings. Now, where this gets really, really cool is that if you take a look at what's going on, Sean, Brenton, you rejoined. It's like, kind of like you were so excited you wanted to come back. The neat thing is that if I think about, hang on, let me go ahead to something here. I'm going to jump ahead in a little curriculum here. Going to go to a little mode spelling exercise. Come here, my little modes. Good, okay. Now, as you take a look at, that's going to update, should be about now-ish. Well, I guess if you're hearing me, it already is now, but in the future, or I guess maybe in the past. Okay, so the idea is that if you look at those formulas there, you're going to see that the formula of the major scale is just major 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Dorian's got a flat 3 and flat 7. Phrygian's got a flat 2, flat 3, flat 6, and flat 7. Lydian's got a sharp 4. Mixolydian's got a flat 7. Minor's got a flat 3, flat 6, and flat 7. And Locrian's got a flat 2, flat 3, flat 5, flat 6, and flat 7. I'm just making sure those are written correctly. Good. Okay, now, the deal is if you think about the major scale, the first 6 notes, which we're just going to agree are played stretch 1, 2, 4 on the bottom 2 strings. And then if you take a look at that list there, Dorian's got, if you think about the first 3 notes of the scale, it's got a flat 3. Actually, I'm going to play it for the key of G major. So if I think about G major, that's going to be our G, A, B, C, D, E. A Dorian is going to be A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. Now, if I took the major scale and played it at A, that's the first 6 notes of the major scale. And this is the first 6 notes of the Dorian scale, which is why it's Dorian 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, compared to the major 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Phrygian, it's got a flat 2, 3, and 6. Lydian, sharp 4. Mixolydian, the first 6 notes of the major scale are the same as the first 6 notes of the Mixolydian. So that is both a 1 and a 5 shape. That's the only spot where the first 6 notes are the same. And let me go back to the 3-note string modes, and you can see that if you take a look at the bottom 2 strings on each one of those mode shapes, the only 2 that are identical are the G major and the D mixolydian. Again, the bottom 2 strings. So if I were to play these as kind of the written G major starting at the 3rd fret, A Dorian starting at the 5th, Phrygian, the fingers can respectively be stretch 1, 2, 4, stretch 1, 2, 4, stretch 1, 2, 3, stretch 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 4, stretch 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, stretch 1, 2, 4, stretch 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. Ah! Aha! Okay, so now this is where the modal string pairing exercise, which is what we're about to go over here, is different from the minor pentatonic. Because the fingering for the minor scale there is stretch 1, 2, 3, stretch 1, 2, 3, stretch 1, 2, 4. And that's because as we move from the 5th string to the 4th string, we're going to go stretch 1, 2, 3 to stretch 1, 2, 4. It makes a lot more sense to have that stretch in place as opposed to do a hand position shift there. All right, so that is the only one of those where the fingering is a different fingering, and the idea is if we can play it in position, we do, and if there's a finger that has to stretch, it's the first finger. So what's neat about that is each one of those shapes, with the exception of the 1 and the 5, are their own shape. So you can think of it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the same shape as the 1, 6, 7, and 1. Repeat it. 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, what's neat about that is once you kind of recognize those shapes, that right there is the 7 shape. Which means on the upper side of the 7 is the 1, and then the 2, and then the 3, and the 4, and the 5, and the 6, and the 7 again. So what's neat is they have an order, but they also I played a B flat. And they have a sound. And so you can begin to recognize the shape. So on and so forth. So, noting that we talked about soloing, one of the things you could do is find a G major pad somewhere, of which there are 5 million. And now we're soloing. Okay, so let's hit the pause button there for just one moment and see if anybody has. Hi, Sean. Okay. And yes, and delay repeats your mistakes forever. That's right, Robbie. Gosh darn it. Okay. I want questions. Who's got questions? Come on, peoples. Give me some questions. All right. So, come on. Hitting the refresh here because there we go. Let's make sure. Good. All right. First of all, hello to everybody on YouTube again and to everybody over on Facebook. And I just have the sinking suspicion when I refresh this because, for whatever reason, it looks like it's not feeding the stream continuously, even though I know that I'm live. So what I'm going to do is, of course, it's going to open up the audio the moment I go to actually get this right here, but that's okay because we know that. Okay. All right. Come on, baby. Okay. Okay. Good. Let's take a look here. How about a backing track to show some context? Sure. Let me, that's, all right. Then I'm going to take a chance here. Let me just do one thing. Activity monitor. Tell me what's going on here in my, how are we doing here? Okay. Says I got lots of RAM. Let's take a chance here and see what happens. Okay. I'll give you a backing track, and hopefully we won't get flagged on YouTube. There are worse things that can happen. Rumor has it this is a, yeah, no. Skip, thank you. No, thank you. Okay, good. Come on. Almost there. Come on, Pro Tools. Okie doke. Recent. That'll get us there. Okay. I'm going to try one thing. Let me see if I pull back on the stream a little bit. If we can get, there we go. Come on. I want this window because we're getting that little guy doing that right there. Let's try options. You're not going to let me do that while I'm streaming. Great. Okay. All right. What else can I quit? Just one sec. All right. Well, all right. So we're gonna agree to make a deal here. I have a feeling we're gonna get a little bit of this flashy thing going on, but the advantage is we're gonna get some audio here. All right. Good. All right. That's the Dopster jamming out. Let me make a little bit of a change on the number of samples here. All right, you. All right, now I need to go into, all right, give me just one moment. Yes, no. Yes. You're going to make an active. Good. And we're going to go here. And we're going to go here. And F sharp and 7F. All right, let me see if I can get out of the background thing, and maybe that'll give us a snowball's chance. And I hit the F sharp. let's hide that little. Actually, I'm going to keep that overlay up for just a moment. That's where you can get the lesson plans, and I would love to be able to change the color of that. So give me just one moment. Come on, how about that'll work better than the blue. All right, you. Okay, there we go. That's where you can go to download the PDF with the lesson plans. And okay, this is starting to get fun. Okay, hang on. Give me a moment. I got to get this thing into this mode here. Just one sec. You asked and I served, but I've got to get into. I'm on the latest version of Pro Tools, and I'm just trying to remember. There we go. That's us. F sharp instead of F. And hold on, let me loop a section that's not going to fade there. And you right here, my little. Ah! How's that? Okay, hang on a second here. Total silliness. Okay, it's very low. Okay, hang on a second. Can't hear the track. Gosh darn it. Hang on one second. Okay, hang on. Wait. Thanks for the feedback. Hang on a second. I can fix that. Give me just one moment. Hold on. Just one sec. You. Aha. Okay, so that should be that, right? Hold on just one sec. Just one sec. Just one sec. Yeah, I'll bet that track is low. Hang on. Okay. You should be passing audio there. All right. Okay, got it. All right, give me a sec. All right, you. Now let's make sure I'm not about to blow my head off here. No. Okay. Options. Good. Aha. Okay. Just 1 sec now. Give me a little bit of feedback there. Okay. Hey, what's going on? Got it. Awesome. Just like Sunday, right? I mean, you know, every week. So that's like, you got a sound go, oh, wait, the track wasn't loud enough. Oh. The interesting thing is you kind of watch that, you can kind of go, I can totally see the back to G. I'll hang out on the high string. Now what I'll do is blend in the second string. I'll up 3 upper string speed exercise B. Cheated, that was third string. Alright, now adding 3 upper string, the modal string pairing exercise where I kind of take the pairs off the bottom. I'll start off on the bottom. F instead of F sharp. An F sharp instead of F sharp again. Yeah, you get the point. Just like Sunday morning. What's going on, Miro? Okay, great questions. Hang on, let me just back up just one sec. So that's, by the way, that's an instrumental remake that I didn't do that a buddy of mine shared with me of Joe Satriani's A Celebration. So, yeah, Ramiro, I know the track too. Okay, now you can hear the. Okay, good. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Brenton. Appreciate the eyes in the dark there. Thanks, Joel. Thanks. Awesome. What speed metronome should be aiming for on a speed exercise? That's a great question. Oh, thanks, guys. So, generally, so long as the left hand and the right hand are well coordinated, you want to be starting off at about 80 BPM. And just the idea of getting them nice and synced. Once you kind of begin to work with the metronome, 85, 90, 95, 100, and at a certain point you're going to get up to that next 5 BPM increment, and it's going to be faster than you can play loosely and correctly. And that's when you back it off 4 BPM. That is let's say you got to 125 and it was too fast. Back it off to 121, hang out there, bump it up to 122, 123, 124. And usually in that first sitting, you'll be able to bump it up past that place where you kind of hit your ceiling. And then at that point, you just kind of go whatever grouping of 5 BPM you can nail, then you just kind of move it up there and just go 1 BPM. And at a certain point, it's going to be a little slow going, but that's where, the long haul comes in. And what's neat about it is that you want to be going for this sense of smoothness with the right hand. And so the idea is, there's that slightly out of control feeling, and then there's the okay, we actually are articulating where it feels like we're in the control. What's neat about practicing on that one string is that kind of gets you used to that articulation. So when you add the other string in there, you kind of are just expanding that out. Now, one of the other things that happens is this gentle movement back and forth, not from the elbow, but again from the wrist, where you have to make the transition. And one of the things I can tell kind of when I'm in I'm practiced well, there's a looseness in my hand. The other thing I kind of did there at the end, that muting of the strings is really important. So when I'm playing down on the 6th string, my left hand's doing its job. It's muting the upper. So I'm literally hitting all 6 strings. Now the tip of the first finger is muting the 6th string, and then the bass of it is muted 4th through 3rd. Once I end up on the 4th string, the right hand now starts covering the 6th string. Then when I move to the 3rd string, tip of the 1st finger mutes the 4th string. And that helps you keep the guitar from playing. guitar silent is the name of the game. That's, again, where this kind of, you learn from 3 and upper string spade exercise A. Why it's so important is that tip of that first finger is there muting the side of that second string. The right hand's down across the 6th through 3rd strings, and you just really focus on getting those two guys together. And so if you were to just kind of solo, and I'll try not to be overly indulgent, I'm in the key of C major. And what's neat is that, first of all, you find, before I talked about finding a pad in the key of G, we're in the key of C here, but the neat thing about the key of C it's got an F natural in it. So I'm going to mess with the open string. You can do it slowly, and it still sounds fine. F natural. Now, let's just say we had some worship thing that was... I will tune... I will tune... Oh, boy. Where is my tuner? It's on my headstock. It's any of you that are over 40 are like, where are my glasses? Oh, they're on top of my head. I don't mean on my nose. I mean, it's just kind of like, it's one of those things, really. But, I was working on something. using those open strings with some kind of movie note thing. It's not quite necessarily the right sound, but you kind of get the idea. There's also Daniel Carson is great for that. Hang on, let me kill some of the fun noise. Just 1 second. No more fun for you, buddy. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. Now, the interesting thing that I'm doing there, I'm using the G major pentatonic, which is just pattern number 2 of the minor pentatonic. So we're just going with that second note, and which means I can move a step and a half down. And then that is to say, if you know where pattern number 1 is, you can just move a step and a half up and play pattern number 2. If you don't know pattern number 2 yet, find where, because just about every major worship song is in major something or other. Just move a step and a half down. And in this particular case, what's neat about this is when the key of G, so you can take, and you can use those pentatonic notes in the key really well, because some notes, now some people like that, so to each their own, but for me, I kind of like the happier stuff. All right, let's see if there's any more questions here in the midst of all this madness. Okay, first of all, just like Sunday morning, I love it. Hang on a second, just 1 second. So totally love you. Thanks, Robbie. Okay, but what church can you ever use that in a worship service? Honestly, Robbie, that's not a D-bag question. That's a very legitimate question. So, imagine you play it about, I don't know, like a tenth as fast. So let me see if I can't attempt, before I come back to the questions here, bring the delay back on. About a tenth as fast, right? So the neat thing is, that's all that G major business. It's a great question, and you weren't being a jerk about it. So I took it in the spirit which was asked. What's neat is it's just the same 7 notes, and so what's neat about having that sense of the sound of them. That thing where your ear, and I talked about this before, there's the shape trajectory, the scale degree trajectory, the note name trajectory, but the ear is being tethered along with that at the same time. So kind of as I was doing that, It's like, oh, snap, right? You're like, ooh. And yeah, so great question. Uh, all right. Mine, but not all the time. I love that. Okay, let's see here. Okay, there we go. Just like, there we go. Just like Sunday morning. What amp model I'm playing through, what plugin, and what delay settings. It sounds great. Thanks, Brett. All right. So the secret sauce is this is, and I don't know if I can pull this up. Just 1 second. Yeah, I can. Give me a second here. You and you. You let me do what I want to do. There we go. Okay, hang on a second. There we go. And let's go into here and see if it's going to allow me to find it from let's see here. I don't know if it's going to allow me to show that because it's a plugin. Hang on a second. No, it's not allowing me to show the plugin. Oh, that is a superior bummer. There we go. Hey. Okay, so that is my new favorite plugin of all time. Wait for it. The man. Oh, I'm clicking on the preview, moron. So this is, come on, there we go. This is the Plini plugin, and this is from Neural DSP, and I am pretty much completely besides myself about this plugin. It is so unreal. I'm just like, oh snap. So obviously, here's your compressor and your overdrive front end effects. Amp model, basically there's kind of 3 models. I'm on a high gain one here. Then there's a graphic EQ that I've pulled all the rumbly stuff off the bottom, and I've given a little bit of a bump here at 1.7 and a little tiny bit of a bump. Sorry, that's at a where are you? No, at 1 hertz and at 2, wherever it is. I can't, oh, hang on. I can. Hang on a second. There we go. That's at 2K and 4K. I've pulled it back a little bit. Sorry, at 1K, I've got a 1.7 bump. At 2K, I got a 2.1 bump. At 4K, I've pulled it back to -2. And I've got a little bump at 8K and a little tiny bump at 16K. But the delay here... All right, hang on. I'm going to switch out of here because I can see we're getting our little, that guy is unhappy. So we're back out of Pro Tools mode there. But like, holy cow, what a sound, right? Just like, oh man. So, okay, getting to the pick thickness. Now, the interesting thing about Doppler World is there's usually a healthy sampling of different guitar picks around. But as a general rule, 99% of the time, I'm using a 1mm Tortex pick from Dunlop, just a normal cut, traditional, and there'll usually be a couple, excuse me for going out of frame. There we go. There's usually 1 or 2 on the floor. And then the other thing that I do is I'll navigate to some of the other ones. Generally, I find that when I'm playing Worship, I like a slightly softer pick attack. You can hear that right there. That's the yellow one. This is the black one, but it's a custom Doug Doppler pick. But it's 1mm. It's just like the blue. And I find for higher gain stuff, I don't actually use the pick when I play the whammy bar, just in case you were wondering. But the pick actually makes a huge difference. And ideally, I used to be a real stickler or pickler about making my students play with a 1 millimeter pick, in particular the blue 1 millimeter Tortex Dunlop, because I generally believed that. Hold on, let me turn off the candy. No candy. Candy, go bye bye. No, I said no candy. Can I? There we go. Hold on. The idea was using a thicker pick and letting your wrist. And I'd still prefer the thicker pick, but depending on the guitar, like this action, that's another great question. The action on the guitar is super light. So because of that, I like having a little bit more pick to it. I know it seems kind of strange, like smaller action, a lighter action, a heavier pick, but it allows you to get some of the meat out of that you would. When the pick gives, you can hear it there. I indulge. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Okay. Yes, Brett, I do. I do teach. Message me. But since you asked me publicly, I will be happy to say I teach on Saturdays. I'm relatively impacted from about 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Pacific time. It's $50 for half an hour. I love to teach. DM me, please. Thanks. Appreciate it. All right. That's a great question, by the way. So for those that are not seeing Camille, I'm not going to do that to your last name. Camillo. So the question was not only what thickness do I normally use, but do I experiment with different sizes at all? And I absolutely. And here's the thing: in the studio, in particular, if you've ever been next to a drummer and they do that punk thing where they decide to crash the cymbal right by your ear, versus when you're out in the congregation or sanctuary or whatever, and they hit that same cymbal, not only the volume but the attack sounds very different when you're very close to something. And so when you're miking something up in particular, you hear much more of the Now, there are times you want to give. And a lot has to do with kind of what's happening around you musically. So the trick is to just kind of be aware of kind of what's going on and just kind of figure out, do you have the right attack for what you're doing? It's a great question. Oh, Brent, you're too kind. Uh, Not the best teacher in the world, but it's still a lovely compliment. I have the best students in the world. Just like Sunday morning. Super awesome. Thanks, Joel. Really appreciate it. How to set up the delay for soloing high gain and hooks. Zoot, hey, so generally speaking, I am a beat synced kind of guy. And so for soloing and high gain, kind of my default go-to is dotted eighth on my left and chord note on the right. Now, as it turns out, this particular plugin that I am just kind of losing my mind over, it's set up for just a traditional ping pong. It is beat synced. And where are you? There we go. Come back. There we go. And the delay is set. Oh, interesting. Yeah, okay, it's set for a okay, I've got it set for a dotted eighth, and it's set to 96 BPM. So there are a couple things. First of all, that's way more than you would probably want. So I'm going to bring kind of the delay volume down. It's a little bit more feedback than you normally need. Bring that down a little bit more. So it's a little bit out of the way, but I've probably got about a third as much to let out. And I just kind of, but I'm big on taking the delays if possible, splitting them left and right, because that way it's out of the way of the direct signal, and in turn it's also gives you this 3D feel, which I absolutely love. Love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. Okay, so 7:46. So we're about 15 minutes away from the kind of tail end of this. So let's see what else we can endeavor on. Okay. We were getting the jumpy guy with the second finger modes. First of all, you can see that link, gtrmag.info/Doppler lesson plan. So that's where you can download that PDF. It's got all sorts of stuff on it, including an exercise called the EFBC note location exercise, which some of you are quite familiar with. And the whole thing about that is it gets you used to calling out the note names at the same time you have to F. Oh, hang on. Shush. You. And you. There we go. Basically, it goes going E, have to F, hold the G, hold the A, hold the B, have to C, hold the D, hold the E, have to F, hold the G, hold the A, hold the B, have to C, hold the D, hold the E, hold the D, hold the C, have to B, the A, hold the G, hold the F, have to E, hold the D, hold the C, have to B, hold the A, hold the G, hold the F, have to E, A, hold the B, have to C, hold the D, hold the E, have to F. Now, in particular, because so many of the chords we play are based on the 6th and 5th string root, knowing that that's G, C, A, D, B, D, C, F sharp, D, G, A, D, F sharp, B, and G and C is really helpful. So you're used to knowing what that's C, B, E, A, which is also the 4, 3, 6, 2, 3. And knowing those bass notes are important, but honestly, being able to go B, F to C, hold to D, hold to E, F to F, hold to G, hold to A, hold to B, F to C, hold to D, hold to E, F to F, hold to G, hold to A, hold to B, B, hold to A, hold to G, hold to F, F to E, hold to D, hold to C, F to B, hold to A, hold to G, hold to F, F to E, hold to D, hold to C, F to B. Knowing those notes up and down the neck kind of is that whole thing. I hit an F instead of the F sharp. The other thing is being able to think of your chords and go G, D, G, B, D, G, and kind of know that in fact is a D. And that whole thing kind of getting back to the note names. Let's use the key of G as an example. Actually, we're going to jump over to the key of C for a minute because it relates to all of this. That's one of the exercises in the PDF called the triad chord relay. And basically the dealio with that guy is it's taking the first, third, and fifth tones of each of these modes and playing them as a chord. Moving back to the key of C as promised, C, hold the D, hold the E, F to F, hold the G, hold the A, hold the B, F to C. If I take the first, third, and fifth notes, kind of starting off of each tone, for a key of C, you end up with C, E, G, D, F, A, E, G, B, F, A, C, G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F, C, E, G. And that's the triad note group exercise in the key of C, and that's in the PDF. The great thing is that because you're basically skipping those middle notes for the 1, 3, and 5, those triad note groups are consistent no matter what key you're in. You just add flats or sharps. So for the key of G, instead of going C, E, G, D, F, A, E, G, B, F, A, C, G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F, C, E, G, you got G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F sharp, C, E, G, D, F sharp, A, E, G, B, F sharp, A, C, G, B, D. And that G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F sharp, C, E, G, D, F sharp, A, E, G, B, F sharp, A, C, G, B, D. And in turn, that makes it so you can go, right, that's a G, D, G, B, D, G. That's an A, E, A, C, E, A. B, B, F sharp, B, D, F sharp, B. C, G, C, E, G, C. D, D, A, D, F sharp, A, D. And E, G, E. E, B, E, G, B, E, so on and so forth. There's not a bar chord for the minor 7 flat 5, but that's F sharp, E, C, F sharp, E, A, C. I should know that. So the idea is once you kind of are inside your chords like that, let's add some of the glory tone back in here and add a little delay. Ooh. We'll have the compressor too. basically I'm going G, F sharp, A, F sharp, E, G, E, D, F sharp. No, I'm not. But having that kind of, if you will, intimate relationship with the note names is a huge help. So again, the interesting thing is some of the stuff we think about in soloing, but the neat thing about playing in church is one of my favorite things is that rhythm guitar is this fascinating quality. Is that you're really soloing. That's kind of a melody. It's just, it really opens itself up to all these other things when you really know the notes and kind of how they're relating to each other. And then you can start, the lines between soloing and chords become very blurred. And that's kind of the exciting part. Is like, nobody really knows that you're basically soloing the entire time. Nobody knows. All right. Do I use the same EQ settings for rhythm? Generally speaking, yes. If I'm using a drive pedal, quite often I'll back the top end off a little bit when I go to use the higher gain tones, so they're not quite so pokey. But as a general rule, yes. Worship Guitar book. Thanks, Joel. Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it. With great pleasure. Hang on, let me pop over here to YouTube. Oh, great, Joel. You're on both. Hey, awesome. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. Let's see here. All right. All right. So let me see what kind of last high value thing I can do. So this note name thing. Why call the note names out at the same time you play them? That's a great question. Let me mute the delay here so we don't have Mr. Happy Echo. The idea is that, if you can think of, first of all, I would suggest keeping in mind that the order of the whole steps and a half steps for the major scale goes 2 wholes and a half, 3 wholes and a half. If you're able to navigate C, let's say we're in the key of C, C hold to D, hold to E, F to F, hold to G, hold to A, hold to B, F to C. You can, so let's say I'm going to go A, D, C, B. A, D, sorry, that wasn't A, D, Holy cow. A, D, C, B. Should have played a 5-5. So that's going to be A minor, D minor, C major, B diminished. So the idea is it kind of allows you to at least play the right bass notes, hopefully. But it begins to, when you start thinking about the key, let's see if I can add some of the pretty stuff back in. So I'm going A, D, C, B for the key of C major. I'm instead of going to play the flat 5, I'm going to play the flat 6. So I hit that B flat in there because I borrowed it. So once you kind of know how the note names function in a particular key, I'm not just thinking A, D, C, and B. I'm thinking 6, 2, 1, 7. Because, again, very beginning of this thing, we talked about the idea is when you think of the note names and you know the note names in the key, you kind of get the numbers for free. If I know that the key of C major goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So 176A is the 6. D is the 2, C is the 1, and B is the 7. You play a minor chord at the 2. By the way, I'm playing the root and the 3rd. So I'm going 6, 2, 1, 7. So let's say, you've got some chord chart and you don't know the song that well, but you can recognize the bass notes. In the worst case scenario, if you're supposed to just doing this, so I'm just playing the root and the 3rd, but if I know what number they're functioning as in the key, then I know what 3 I'm going to be able to play. And that comes back to one of the exercises in the PDF that you got called the mode spelling exercise. All right, let me just check in real quick. Sean, thank you. Hey, how you doing, man? Great to see you through this internet thing, and thank you for kind words. Always a pleasure to see you. Can't hear you, but all right. So, folks, that gets us to the end of this evening's show. I hope this has had value for you and kind of gave you at least, hopefully, some stuff to think about. And always a pleasure. Thank you for sharing your night with me. Privileged to be able to do it with you. I wish you a great evening, a great week, and I will see you, hopefully, next week. Thanks so much, and God bless. Thanks.